What is going on, SHIPIT Nation YouTube station? We are back with the Monday edition of the NBA show. We got 7 games to talk through. My guy BJ is taking a break for today. Did a little reshuffling over here. I got my guy Hebrewcheetah with me today. Welcome in. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. On your way in, you're going to want to get all these picks in place. And talking about my guy Hebrewcheetah, fresh off a live final seat shipper on Friday night, straight from his core. You got his core. You were printing money on Friday night. But Rio, outside of winning $10K and a seat to Scottsdale in a couple weeks, how was your weekend? How's your Monday? What's going on, my man?
Yeah, weekend was good. The most important thing is that it was really good for a lot of the members as well. Have that the recap tweet every Monday morning, but this week was really good. Obviously, with the partnership with SaberSim, a lot of people were kind of finding their fitting with the new tools, and yeah, it worked out really good for a lot of people. Had some really good golf lineups in Showdown on Sunday that kind of tapered off towards the end of the night or the end of the day with Joe, I don't know if you're watching golf, like Joe Highsmith literally turned into prime Tiger Woods out there, was just draining 30-foot putts and just throwing darts out there. Definitely hurt me, but yeah, basketball was good. Had some close calls last night too. I actually decided to play a little bit in the 555 and the $18 150 max and had some pretty good lineups up there. But yeah, tonight we got the worst payout structure of all time, the $5 100K to first, and then it drops off to like $500 to second or something. But still money to be won. So I'm excited to be out in Arizona in a few weeks. Like it out there. Unfortunately, Tidal will not be in town, so won't be hanging out with him. But hopefully come back home $1 million richer.
Yeah, that would be a nice little weekend to start your spring into summer off very nicely. Appreciate all 100 of you tuning in. Once again, just make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It certainly helps us out over here a ton. Before we get into these games, we do want to talk a little bit about the new addition that we got over here. That is SaberSim for $99. That'll get you all the sports, everything included in SHIPIT Nation, as well as the optimizer for one low price. You can see, hey, when you're going to go over there to those other the competitors of ours, hey, you're going to pay more for their content. You're going to play less contests. Come on over to ShipItNation.com today. We'd love to have you with us over here. Rio, we got 7 games to talk about. We're going to get right into it. Got some pretty good injuries to discuss. Let's go with the Warriors. Warriors, fresh off their Saturday night beatdown where they gave up 44 to Prime, Quentin Grimes. Steph Curry coming back home. Heard a lot of chatter in the chat this morning that he's coming home. He's playing in front of his dad. He's going to dunk again, even though he said he never was going to dunk again. But Warriors at the Hornets, any interest in this game? It's a relatively low total at 227, and you definitely got some blowout risk here. Talk to me about this game, Warriors at the Hornets.
Yeah, I'm not too interested in this game. I think you could definitely make the case for Steph tonight. Obviously, the homecoming narrative. I was watching like an 8-minute interview with him at pregame or the shoot around this morning, and he's gonna have a ton of family in attendance. Excited to be playing back home. Doesn't really know how many more games he's gonna be playing in Charlotte, so he probably is gonna go out there and try to put on a show. And it's a good matchup for him. Hornets are really a train wreck on defense as of late, playing a little bit better with their rim defense with Mark Williams kind of getting back to full strength. But their 3-point defense has been terrible. They're allowing the 5th most threes per game over their last 14 games. And the Warriors are playing really good. They have like one of the best net ratings in minutes with Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green on the court together. They're 9-5 over their last 14, 8th in defense, 7th in offense, just playing really well. So I think Steph, you could definitely make the case for him being a really, really strong spin-up option tonight. He's been playing really good, making over 5 threes per game over the last 30 days, averaging 30.6, 3.9, and 6 assists per game, 48.2 DraftKings points per game over the last month. And he showed that he still has that slate winning upside when he put up 73.5 against Orlando just 2 games ago. So, yeah, I'm okay getting to Steph. A little bit less interest in the other guys, though. I think probably just going to be like a max 1, max 2 on Golden State. I think Jimmy's okay. Good matchup for him. Good price tag for him. Draymond's been playing really well, he's averaging 33 DraftKings points per game with Jimmy Butler this season. So pretty solid numbers for Draymond. Good price tag. Only center eligible now, so that actually makes it a little bit less enticing. But yeah, he's been playing pretty good. Pod's price tag is okay. just think there's going to be better options later in the slate. And then Charlotte's just a full XL right now. I mean, they're talking about literally trading away LaMelo, Bridges, and Mark Williams in the offseason. This team is just like historically bad. I mean, you saw how bad they were over that 4-game stretch with the largest point differential ever, I think. So yeah, I think the Charlotte's just going to be probably an XL moving forward, unless we get those situations where like LaMelo, Bridges, and Mark Williams are out, and then we could play guys like Damian Baugh, things like that. But yeah, right now it's just a full XL for me.
Yeah, excellent breakdown. Not too much for me to add. Jimmy Butler I see he's questionable, but he's slated to play if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, upgraded to probable, so he'll be back tonight.
Yeah. All right, excellent stuff there. Let's move on to the next game, because there will be some games we do want to spend a little bit more time on, especially this one. In my opinion, you got the Trailblazers going to the 76ers. Some injury news to talk about here in this one. DeAndre Ayton is still out. Grant is still out for the Blazers, and your boy Time Lord. We know Joel Embiid is out for the season. I'm not really seeing much anything else outside of Paul George as questionable. Him and Kelly Oubre are questionable, but I was telling you a little bit pre-show. I was watching these Blazers take on these Cavs, and man, they're a good basketball team. I don't know why their record doesn't indicate that. They have been playing better as of late, in my opinion. But any love for anybody in the Sixers and Trailblazers game?
Yeah, I think this game could definitely get pretty interesting if we get the injury news hitting the right way on Philadelphia. Obviously, Paul George and Kelly Oubre are pretty big names in terms of rotation pieces. Both those guys have been playing a ton of minutes lately. And then Tyrese Maxey, like I wouldn't be surprised to see him get, maybe ruled out later throughout the day, but like eventually in these next couple of games, he'll be getting limited, maybe even shut down for the season. He's kind of dealing with an injury, even though he's off the injury report right now. He has a hand injury, and that's kind of affected his shooting. You see him put up 5 points last game in a game that they actually won. So it's crazy. But Nick Nurse has actually talked about him being pretty affected by the hand injury. So definitely something to keep an eye on moving forward. But yeah, agree with you 100%. Portland's been playing some impressive basketball this year. Their defense has been really good, 4th in defensive rating over the last month or so, while the Sixers are bottom 2 and allowing the 4th most rim points. I'm kind of surprised to see Portland as the underdog. I'm just refreshing to make sure. Yeah, they're still 3-point underdogs. I think that they could definitely win this game. I think a lot of that probably has to do with the overtime loss last night. You had Denny return from the injury, play a ton of minutes. But yeah, we already got Jeremy Grant out, so they're going to be starting Shaedon Sharpe. I think they'll be going with that moving forward. But yeah, a lot to like on the Portland side. I think Denny's in a good spot at 6.7K. You definitely want to attack this Sixers team with guys that are going to be scoring around the basket. The Sixers transition defense hasn't been great this season either. So good spot for Denny, really good spot for Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe, I think, is pretty good at 6.2K. We've seen him have a ton of minutes ceiling at 6.2K. I think is a good price tag for him, good matchup. I kind of like him at low ownership. And then it's probably just going to be those two. I think you could make the case for a Scoot at 5.6K, but only point guard eligibility is not too great. Klingon got into foul trouble really quickly last game, only played 11 minutes, but he should be back closer to normal minutes, and it's a good matchup. But I do think that there's a chance this game plays out a little bit smaller. They've been the Sixers have been staggering away Yabu and Andre Drummond's minutes a little bit, so I think if Yabu is getting a bulk of those minutes, that would not be good for Donovan Klingon. But then on the flip side, if Paul George were to miss, then they're gonna have to play Yabu and Drummond a good amount of minutes. So I think that's sneaky good. If George is in, then I think it's bad for Klingon. If George is out, vice versa. If George is out, I think that's good for Klingon. If he's in, I think that's worse for him. And then the Sixers side, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be going against projections a little bit on Tyrese Maxey tonight. I just think that's a really tough matchup. Tumani Kamara, one of the best defenders in the league, doesn't really get enough credit for that. But Tyrese Maxey, just injured, very injured right now, and it's affecting his shooting. So I'm going to be taking an underweight stance on Tyrese Maxey, and I probably would be taking an underweight stance on Paul George if he were to be in. I did like Kelly Oubre the most, but with him being downgraded with the illness tag, very likely that he misses. So I think the guy we'd probably be looking to for value would be Justin Edwards. They've been willing to play him upper 20s minutes. And then if Paul George misses, then they're going to have to play guys like Lonnie Walker and Ricky Council. So just kind of a situation to monitor. There is a lot of value that is likely going to open up later in the slate, so you don't want to get locked in on too many pieces in these first 2 games. But I'd be okay with like one of Justin Edwards, Lonnie Walker, or Council if we get the news that Paul George and Oubre were to be out.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. Jake Swells, what's going on, man? I meant to say what's up to you. Wish you were back in the Discord, man. Come on back whenever the time is right for you. But yeah, you didn't mention my boy. I mean, if George is out, why not? Or maybe you did, but Quentin Grimes. I mean, any interest in Quentin Grimes? Or you're not chasing the 44-point game again from him?
I'm not chasing that. Yeah, there's no shot I'm chasing that. I just don't. I think we know what Quentin Grimes is. Very streaky shooter. He got a ton of points in transition, which is good for him because Portland does give up a ton of transition points. But yeah, I mean, that's if the field is going to be flocking to him with Oubre and Paul George will be out, I think that's a spot that I could probably find ways to get away from. Also, kind of, I don't know, it rubbed me the wrong way that he like posted his. I don't know if you're like super active on Twitter, but he posted like 44 on like and like a bunch of pictures on his Twitter, like recapping the night. And I just looked at his Twitter. That's like the first time he's posted in like a month. And it's, I don't know, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. You're like celebrating your like, obviously it's nice to have a 40-point game anytime you're like, that was a career high, but your team is just so bad. It just felt kind of a little tone deaf.
Yeah. Did you read anything today or see anything about Chauncey Billups, the second half of a back-to-back, and like you said, Denny played 42 last night. Anthony Simons played 42 last night. Now, granted, that was an overtime game, but any concern with those guys maybe, playing 30, 28 to 30 minutes, something like that?
I think they'd be okay from that. All these guys are really young, so it's not like Denny. I think I would be the most worried about just because he returned from the injury, missed one game, got injured in that game against the Wizards, and then was like back to full, but I don't know. I think it was a bruise, like a thigh bruise that was injury, which is really not like anything too much to worry about. But yeah, I think that he'd probably be the guy to get limited the most, but I feel like everybody else is probably fine. Like Chauncey Billups has really run a really tight rotation at times in close games, and this game is projected to be close. So I'd kind of think that these guys are going to be closer to full, and they're probably going to run like an 8-man rotation.
Yeah. Last question on the Blazers. I feel like I'm spending too much time, but Duop Reith at 3,000. Hey, he played very well last night. I know Klingon was in foul trouble, but it looks like he overtook Jabari Walker. I mean, any love for Duop Reith, that Stone Men 3K tonight?
Not really. I think it was just the one game sample where they needed they needed some size behind Klingon. There's like possibly some min price value centers opening up later tonight that I think I would much rather wait for than lock up a spot on Duop Reith.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Jim Parrish, what's going on, my man? How you doing? Always good to see you here. You're always in the Discord as well. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate everybody tuning in. The only ask is you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Helps us out over here a ton. I'm a big give a free play away at the end of the day. We got to get those likes up in here to do that. Moving on.
I came prepared too. I knew you were going to ask me.
Hey, we got Rio on the show. We want one of those free plays. If you aren't in the chat, we're going to give you a free one away. But you got to hit that like, got to hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. Next game up, we got the Washington Wizards taking on the Miami Heat. No Sean Sullivan, so no pool party tonight. He is already out. There are a litany of Miami Heat members out as well. I'm going to try to click over to it real quick. I saw it come up in the middle of the day. Khalil Ware is out, and who else? Rio.
I think that's it on the out
Wiggins
guys.
Is questionable. That's what it was.
Yeah, Wiggins and Davion are both questionable.
Yep, and Jovic I think has been out as well. But yeah, talk to me about this game. Should be a decent game, I guess, from a DFS standpoint. Tyler Hero continues to chuck it up there. Bam Bam went ham last night. So talk to me about this game. Wizards at the Heat.
Yeah, Washington's been hanging around lately. They've been playing a little bit better on defense. I think a lot of that was due to some of the opponents they played were not that great, but they've shown the ability to hang around in some of these games. And I talked about it before with adding guys like Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart, just two pros, I would say, like guys that can play still on contending teams. I think it definitely makes this Washington team a little bit more serious. But yeah, they're 15th in defensive rating over the last month. Offense has really been struggling, and Miami's a decent defense. I would say they definitely have some holes in their defense, mainly the 3-point defense with how much zone they play. But yeah, Washington, their rim defense has been bad. Transition defense has been bad as well. Don't really worry about that too much because Miami is one of the worst from a points per game perspective in transition offense. So nothing too crazy to write home about there. Washington is another team that I could see myself getting away from. I just think there's going to be way better spots on later in the slate. And this is a really, really low total. They only have 105 points implied. So I think they're going to struggle to score here. If I was to choose anybody, I like the guys that are going to be the off-ball catch-and-shoot guys. So that would be Keyshawn George, Corey Kispert, Justin Champagnie, who just signed a 4-year contract. So shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, above Carrington getting a good amount of ownership at 5K, I think it's a spot to get away from. There's just a lot more downside than upside for him at 5K, in my opinion, in this spot, especially if Davion were to be in. Their on-ball defense has been really, really strong against guards with Davion in the lineup. So if he misses, a little bit more of a boost for Bub Carrington. But yeah, I don't really love anything in particular on the Washington side. I think Alex Sarr is cheap enough to consider. It's not a terrible matchup. Miami's been kind of below average in comparison to how they normally play with their rim defense. So I'd be okay with Sarr, but I don't know. Just, yeah, not really a slate where I want to lock up spots in this game, especially on a team like Washington. But there is a little bit to like on Miami's side. Obviously, Tyler Hero at 8.8K, that's an expensive price tag. He does have a tough matchup. Bilal Coulibaly going to be on him tonight, and he's been really good. They're in the top half of the league in pick-and-roll defense this season. So, again, I think there's a little bit more downside than upside to Tyler Hero, especially with the point guard position. I mean, everybody priced from 9K up so all the spend-ups are point guards tonight, and there's just much better options, I think, in much better matchups like Cade, I think Shea, I think Trey, John Morant, I think are all in better spots than Hero tonight. I probably would be around the field on Hero, maybe a little bit under of what we have him projected, which is right around like the 13% mark. I'd probably be okay with 10%, but not looking to get overweight there. I like Bam, especially if he's going to be shifting to the center spot. That should help him with no Khalil Ware from a rebounding perspective. And well, you want to attack the Wizards with centers, so I think it's a really good spot for Bam. Nice that he has the power forward eligibility here as well. Wizards are much more vulnerable around the basket defensively, bottom 7 in rim defense over the last month or so. So he'd be the guy that I'm looking to. Wiggins has a really good matchup as well with the transition defense being poor on the Wizards side. But he's dealing with his ankle injury. I believe it's ankle injury. It's like pretty serious, and I don't think that they want to push him too much in this game in particular. I think they have some pretty big matchups coming up in the next week or so. So I don't know. That just feels expensive for Wiggins. I did like Davion as a pivot from Bub Carrington, but now with the downgrade, good chance that he misses. So who gets into the mix? I would expect Alec Burks to get that start at point guard, and he'd be okay as a value option, 3.3K. That's somebody I'd be okay getting early in the games because we know that he's got a ton of upside. Also, just these rotation pieces on Miami have a ton of downside because there's nothing is solidified. Like we saw Kyle Anderson on the night that he was like 30-50% owned, play 2 minutes, pick up a foul, and then not see the court for the rest of the game. And then Haywood Highsmith was the guy that you needed. So we have to see who's getting the start for where, because there's a couple ways they could go. It could be Kyle Anderson at the 4. I think Haywood Highsmith probably has earned the starting spot again, so I think it's going to be him. And then, yeah, if Davion misses and Alec Burks starts, I would not have any issues going there.
If Hayden or Haywood Highsmith is starting, is he a must play for you?
No, not at all. He's just extremely low point per minute, extremely low usage. I wouldn't really be going out of my way to play him.
All right. What about Slow-Mo? If Slow-Mo is starting, are you playing him?
That would be somebody I would much rather. I wouldn't say it's like an all-in thing, but I would probably have a good amount of Slow-Mo just because we know that he does have upside because he can do a bit of everything, and it's a good matchup for the way that he would be scoring, which is going to be around the basket.
I mean, if Davion and Andrew Wiggins and Jaquez, I think Jaquez is doubtful.
Yeah.
And those other two are questionable. What's your lean on Mitchell and Wiggins?
I feel like Wiggins probably could play tonight, but Davion with the midday downgrade, and it was questionable, straight to questionable, so it wasn't probable. That's a little bit concerning. So I kind of would expect him to miss. I think I'll definitely keep an eye and see if there's any beat reporters saying anything, but I would kind of expect him to miss. I forgot to mention Duncan Robinson. He's actually been playing really good, and Jaime Jaquez being out is kind of sneaky good for him. I think a good way to attack the Wizards is with off-ball scoring, 3-point shooters. So he's pretty good, and he's actually been like driving it a little bit more this season, but just taking a ton of shots when he's on the court, and he does have that 30-plus point upside. So I'd be okay with Duncan if we get a couple more of these guys ruled out.
One more question: Bam or Hero tonight for you? Or two more questions: Bam or Hero? Who are you prioritizing more?
It would be Bam for me. I really, it's just kind of mainly because I think the matchup is tougher for Hero and he doesn't have shooting guard eligibility, whereas Bam has power forward center, and there's a couple really good center options. So I can get to Bam pretty easily.
All right, this is my last question on this game. Bam coming in. We're showing 22% ownership. What, obviously you're never going to know, but what would you want to see his ownership around? Like you flip the cards over in that $5. What do what's too high in your opinion? Like 30%, you wish you had too much, or where do you want that number to be?
I mean, I think what we have it would be a good number. Like I'd be okay getting to 25% of him if he was going to be projected 22%. But yeah, I think getting to like the 35% range is starting to borderline on a little bit too much. So I think 22 would be pretty solid for him.
Yeah. Jason Turner says no Highsmith on any day ending in Y. I said the same thing about Jackson Hayes last night. I was looking good, and he ended up with 6.7 boards. I don't think he crushed me. Speaking of crushing, going back to Friday night, my guy Hebrewcheetah talking about Spida. Hey, if you want a guy to score 42 real life points to get you 55 DK points, Spida is your man. Good job, Spida, helping Hebrewcheetah get to Scottsdale on that live final. Next up, we got my Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Atlanta Hawks. Grizzlies, man, talk about tough luck, Rio. They lost Friday night on a buzzer beater to the Knicks. They lost Saturday night on a buzzer beater to De'Aaron Fox and the Spurs. Now I get to take on this Atlanta Hawks team, which we've been picking on all season long. Hawks will be without Georges Niang tonight. Trae Young is probable. And then on the other side, I don't see anybody out for the Grizzlies, but I do see Ja and Santi Aldama as questionable. If I missed anything, let me know. But talk to me, Hawks at the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I mean, this is the game I was kind of alluding to, or I want to get a lot of exposure to, especially the spend ups, because I think it's a really, really good spot. Obviously, huge game total. What is it, 252? Yeah. Hawks are struggling on defense. The Grizzlies have been struggling as well. And over the last month or so, the Hawks ranked 9th, where the Grizzlies are 7th. And these are the two fastest paced teams in the league, first and second in pace this season. And both really solid offenses, 13th and 19th. So there's a ton to like here. Hawks defensively been a little bit more of a rim funnel after giving up a ton of threes earlier on this year. And then Memphis kind of is more of a 3-point funnel. The catch and shoot guys on Atlanta are the guys that I want to be prioritizing. But both these teams struggle in transition it kind of goes with being such a good transition offense. Like sometimes just playing fast paced leads to poor transition defense, but you've seen Memphis really struggle there. They are, or they bottom 2, and Atlanta is 9th in bottom 9 in transition defense, and Memphis is 1st in transition offense. Atlanta is 4th. The on-ball defense has been slightly improving for the Hawks. They were kind of in like the 1 to 3 range in pick and roll defense. Now they're bottom 6, so a couple points up they moved. Yeah, starting with the Atlanta side, this is one of the times where I'd be okay with Trae. It's a kind of a smaller slate. I know it's 7 games, but you could argue that it's more like you could honestly make it a 5-game slate if you faded Washington and Miami and Golden State and Charlotte. So that's kind of the sweet spot for Trae. But he's been playing really, decently. The role has been humongous in the second half of the season, leading the league in drives per game, touch time per game. The potential assists are up above 18. I don't really worry too much about the matchup. Jalen Wells should be on him. He's a rookie, done really well this season defensively, but the pick and roll defense for Memphis is slightly below average, and that's where Trae's going to get most of his offensive production going. And we know that he still has GPP winning upside, 9.6K. So yeah, I like Trae tonight. Famous last words. And then dropping down a little bit, there's a lot to like kind of up and down the lineup, but I think Dyson is probably my top play on Atlanta tonight. 6.8K. Has seen his minutes come down a little bit with the addition of Terrence Mann and Karis LeVert. But I think Georges Niang being out does slightly help him a little bit. We should probably see him in like the 35, 36 minute range. going to be needed for his defense on Ja. And if Ja is out, then it's going to be Bane. But yeah, the Grizzlies have given up a ton of fantasy points to shooting guards as of late. Over the last 30 days, they're bottom 3 in DVP. Over the last 14 games, they are allowing the 7th most turnovers. The Grizzlies are, and we know that Dyson can reach those huge ceiling games when he has like 4 to 5 steals. So I think Dyson, I already have him listed in my core tonight, so I'm going to be playing a ton of him. And then Okongwu, really good option, 6.1K, starting to see him run away with the center job, played 30-plus minutes in each of his last 6 games. And then you look at the point-per-game production, nearly 39 DraftKings points over that stretch. I'm not too worried about the Grizzlies' interior defense. They've actually been kind of below average this month, going a little bit away from ED just with the pace of play. So I think Okongwu kind of matches up really, really solidly here. And then LeVert, he gets a handful of his points per game in transition, so it's a good spot for him. Ricochet should play 30-plus now with Niang out, catch-and-shoot guy. I think it's a really good spot for him, good price tag. And then Terrence Mann is okay. I probably would not play Ricochet and Terrence Mann together. I think that they kind of push and pull a little bit. And then Mo Gay, I see he's projecting okay. Don't really have a strong lean whether or not he's an option tonight. Probably not, I would say. And then shifting over to Memphis, I have a ton of interest in the top 3 guys, Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane. I think Jaren is probably in the best spot here with how bad the rim defense has been for Atlanta over the last month or so, coming off a 42-point outing in a game against San Antonio where they kind of profile similarly, with Atlanta being a bottom 10 rim defense. San Antonio has been one of the worst over the last 5 or 6 games since Wemby has been out. But they're also bottom 4 in DVP versus power forwards this month. So I think that Jaren is really good if Ja's in. I think that he's kind of a borderline lock if Ja were to be out. I have no issues with Ja, just not really playing a ton of minutes. Pick and roll scoring should definitely be there. The rim and transition scoring should be there. So I don't have any issues with him really. But I do think for 700 cheaper, Desmond Bane kind of provides a similar floor ceiling combo. And he's a shooting guard, which I think is a slightly worse position tonight than point guard. So I probably lean Bane over Ja tonight, but Jaren is definitely my top option. And then if Santi were to miss, it's kind of big for Zach Edey, who's been seeing his minutes kind of crater when Santi gets into like the 30-minute range. The only issue that I have with Edey tonight is that the game probably plays a little bit too fast for him to stay on the court. But while he's out there, I mean, he should be able to put up a pretty solid game. I mean, they have an undersized front court on the other side, terrible rim defense, and he's only 4.9K. So I think there is definitely a good amount of upside to his price right there. That's probably it. I think Edey or Aldama being out would help Brandon Clark a little bit, so he'd be an option, 3.8K. I actually do kind of think that it matches up a lot better for him with the pace being so fast. He's more of like the small ball center, can definitely get up and down the court, whereas Edey's a little bit slower. He's just huge, so it's harder for him. But yeah, there's a ton to like about this game. I think you could probably get to like 4 total and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So you think 4, 2 and 2, you talking about 4 total, or just talking about 4 from one side?
4 total. I think you could definitely get 2 and 2, maybe even 3. Like you could probably get to 3 Atlanta guys, I think, pretty easily. Like you're not spending too much salary getting into Dyson, Okongwu, and then one of like LeVert, Ricochet, Terrence Mann, or Mo Gay. I think that's kind of smart tonight.
Yeah, excellent breakdown there. I mean, obviously you see it there. This game is going to be popular, and rightfully so. Anytime there's a 252 point total, hey, there's going to be some up and down in this contest. I like what you said about Zach Edey. I mean, I was thinking, Edey played this the second night, so that would have been they played the Spurs the second night, and he didn't start. And I made a comment in the chat, like he started all season, or felt like all season, last couple of months anyway. But he played pretty good off the bench. But I know that was a different type game, and with the Hawks running and gunning, that's a good point.
Yeah. So that was kind of. I'm glad you mentioned that. So I was just looking up some of the like the post game press conference stuff for Jenkins and why they went that way. They said they wanted him to be matched up against some small ball stuff on the other side. So it makes sense. I mean, you have Jeremy Sochan on. You definitely should have the size advantage there. Should be able to score pretty easily. So I don't know if they would do that again here, because Atlanta is going to run pretty much a full 48 at the center spot with Capella getting 17 to 18 minutes or whatever is left over behind from Okongwu.
Excellent stuff right there. I got somebody at my house. I'll send them a wave. Then we'll get on to the next game. Yeah, Richard, where'd you go, Richard? Yeah, I'm with you. I think a game stack. Hebrewcheetah thinks, 4 up to 4 is probably good as well. Would agree with him there. Next game up on the slate should be another good real life game. That was a fun game to watch last night with OKC taking on San Antonio. I know me and you were going back and forth about CP3 and why he still gets run over Stephon Castle, but that's a story for another day. Injuries to report in this game. Dylan Brooks is listed as questionable. Tari Eason listed as questionable. Goon. Alperen Sengun listed as questionable as well. Amin Thompson is questionable. Fred VanVleet got one game, got beat up by the Kings. Now he's going to sit out again. Over on the other side, not seeing any major anybody major out, but I see Hartenstein is available. Isaiah Joe, I don't think he's major, but he's not playing tonight. But anybody I missed or talk to me about this game, Rockets at the Thunder?
Well, yeah, Chet will be back tonight, so definitely gets them healthier. But yeah, I know it's like almost impossible to talk about this game because I don't really know how Houston is going to play it. I was kind of surprised to see OKC favored by 10. Because that kind of tells me that the Houston guys are playing. But if they're not, I mean, OKC should be favored by like 15 plus because, they have – so, yeah, they would have they have their G League guys tonight. So that kind of tells me like somebody's sitting. I think that Tari Eason is probably the most likely, and then maybe Steven Adams because they don't play those guys on back-to-backs. Dylan Brooks, I have to double-check. His questionable tag is with an illness, I believe.
He has
right knee contusion.
Contusion, yeah.
Okay, so
those contusions will get you.
Yeah, they'll definitely get you. I don't think that I honestly don't know. I did kind of like break down some if-then scenarios. If Sengun is out and Steven Adams is in, then I think Steven Adams becomes a very, very solid value option at 3.8K. If both those guys are out, then we're talking about Jock Landale again to start at min price. He'd be probably the best value on the slate, even in a tough matchup. And then the guy that would be getting the backup center run, I think, is this N'Faly Dante. I've never really heard much about him, but a couple of the beat writers have said that they want to see him play more. So maybe he mixes in behind Jock Landale if both those guys were to be out because he is available tonight. I don't think he's played in the NBA yet. He's been with the G League for most of the season. So that'd kind of be if everybody's going to Lando, you can get to some Dante and be max one of those two guys and get a little bit of leverage there in case they go to more Dante tonight. And then if Amen is out, that would probably be Cam Whitmore seeing a bulk of those minutes. If Easton is out, he's cheap, bro.
I played him way too much this year. Not some more Cam Whitmore.
He's min price now though, so if he has a bad shooting night and gets you 18, he's still paying off. If Tari Eason were to be out, that would probably help Jabari Smith. If Brooks is out, that'd probably help Whitmore as well. And then if Thompson is out, then I kind of think that that would definitely help Aaron Holiday. He's probably getting the start. But then Reed Shepherd would also get into the mix as well. Yeah, so this is kind of just a spot you want to be prepared for. And, I would get to a ton of these guys if we get like 3 to 4 of these guys out. They play the Pacers, I believe, tomorrow. I have to double-check the schedule. So it's not really a big game against a Western Conference team. But nobody's catching OKC right now, so I don't really know if they want to if they just want to punt this game off and then just play for tomorrow. So yeah, you just got to be prepared for it. On the OKC side, it'd be Shea, the guy that I'm looking at tonight. He was deferring a lot to Jalen Williams, who had a career night. I think he had like 44 real points, something like that. He was a career high in points. He had 41. I would think that Shea plays a little bit more tonight. I only played 32 in that game. Matchup is good regardless of who's in or out. The pick and roll defense for the Rockets has been the area you want to attack. Shea is third in the league in pick and roll scoring, so he'd be the guy that I'm looking to. But also with Chet back, that definitely does hurt him because he does see a pretty sizable dip in per minute production with Chet on the court this season. But yeah, I think matchup-wise, he's probably the guy that I would be looking to. Chet being back probably takes Isaiah Hartenstein fully out of contention, I would say. And yeah, that's it. I mean, the OKC is like pretty fully healthy, so we're probably going to see, if this game gets blown out, we're going to see like the Usman Jang, Adam Flagler guys get into the mix. So not a game I have a ton of interest in right now, but just got to be prepared for the Houston stuff.
Yeah, another thing to note too is that Shea was on his way to a Jalen Williams-esque performance, but he really didn't even play the fourth quarter last night. I think he set out the first 8 minutes of the fourth, came in for like a minute, and then they were up by so many he came back out. He was balling, ended with 55 DraftKings points. But man, it's tough to stack those Thunder. It's just they play so many dudes and they're so good. And like you said, SGA just distributes so well, and at that price tag, he's tough. Do you have a lean on any of these Rockets guys? Have you read or seen anything? Because they have 5 of them listed as questionable.
So let me pull up what the beat reporter said it was like half an hour ago whenever they listed their injury stuff.
I'm gonna need a flow chart too of everybody you said. If he's in, this helps this guy. If that guy's in.
It's really just a wait for projections and see who's starting type thing. No changes in the latest injury report. If I had to guess, Sengun, Thompson, and Brooks all play tonight, and 1 or more sit tomorrow. Unsure about Easton or Adams, but I'm almost positive they will not play tonight and tomorrow. So, yeah, that's kind of what they've been doing on these back-to-backs. One of Easton or Adams is for sure going to sit tonight. It's just we haven't really had it. Like, I don't think Amen Thompson has been questionable at all this year. Like, he's very durable, so it's hard to know what they're going to do. But that's just a guess from one of the beat reporters.
Why did Jayshawn Tate play so much the other night? I'm trying to look and see if was someone I feel like everybody would played on Saturday night when they got blown out, but he played 27 minutes, 24 minutes. And he's been Price. I don't think you mentioned his name. What about him? Or did you mention him and I just missed it?
No, I did not mention him. So yeah, he's another guy that would benefit from I think Brooks being out that'd be kind of the 1v1 swap they'd go with there. I don't know. That was like a week ago, the last time he saw meaningful minutes.
Oh, was that okay? I was thinking it was Saturday night.
Yeah, so it
was a week ago. You're right. I'm sorry.
They were probably without Jabari. I don't know if Jabari had made his return yet, but it could have been like Jabari was out and Tari Eason was sitting from a back-to-back.
Yep.
And then Van Fleet, like he just made his return. So they've been pretty thin coming up to this point.
Yeah, I misread that. I was thinking it was Saturday, but it was over a week ago. Excellent breakdown there on all the Rockets and Thunder matchup. Next game up on the slate. The slate is the cover boy of the day. It is not Domantas Sabonis. That is your boy Jonas Valanciunas taking on the Mavericks, taking on Kyrie Irving. Someone said Ramadan Kyrie in the chat earlier today, but should be a good real-life game. This game, they played this game, I think, a month or so ago, and it was a pretty good real-life game. I think went to OT even. But talk to me about this game. No Sabonis tonight, but Kings at the Mavericks, 231.5 point total.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the standings. This is a pretty big game. I mean, the West is pretty tight from 6 down to 10, basically, but Sacramento is 9th and Dallas is 10th. So, big game for both teams. I think they're going to play this one very tight. I think the game total is pretty solid. And then we already know that Dallas they've been thin all season long, but now they're kind of introducing somebody else. I see Moses Brown somebody mentioned that in chat. He is not with the team anymore. They released him yesterday because it's some weird stuff with like the second team apron. I honestly don't know how all that stuff works, but I know that they couldn't bring him back for a second 10-day. So they signed Kai Jones, who, I mean, I don't even know. I'm not going to go into his stuff, but he had some crazy off the court stuff going on a few years ago. Freaky athletic.
Check it out, then.
Yeah. It was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, I think he kind of went a little cuckoo.
Is he even in the player pool? I don't even see him on the player pool.
He's not. They just added him yesterday or the day before or something like that. But he basically said like he was as good as Michael Jordan or something like that. So
we all have dreams.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously the big news on the Kings side, no Domantas Sabonis. So Jonas Valanciunas, I think, is just somebody you're locking in single entry. Really good matchup too. I mean, kind of diving right into this one. Dallas is ranked dead last in rim defense over the last 14 games, so the last month or so. I mean, they just don't really have anybody that can defend down low with no Gafford for the season. Lively's not ready to be back. Obviously, no Anthony Davis. Dwight Powell definitely makes them a little bit better with defensively, but then no PJ Washington hurts again. So they're just very, very thin in the front court right now. And their rebounding has not been very good either, bottom 4 in rebounding. So there's just a lot to like about Joe Val He played 30 minutes, got the second half start for Sabonis last game. We know that he's one of the more elite permanent producers when he's given the minutes, played 49, put up 49 DK points in that game. And this is like a different situation. I know people probably get a little scared off of him because he failed so many times in Washington. But there was like, I don't know, he was mixing in with Sarr. Then they were going smaller. Like they had Rashawn Holmes. They had Bagley for a little bit. They didn't really have any reason to play him a lot of minutes, whereas the Kings are right there in the playoff mix. So they like having a big man out there. And I think he's like similar to Sabonis in some ways. Like he's a decent passer. So yeah, I really, really like Jovel tonight. I'm not sneaking that past anybody. He's going to be probably 50, 60% owned in tournaments. But I still think even then.
Let me ask you, is that too high?
No.
I mean, I know you said lock him in, but you're saying that's good chalk to eat tonight.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it. Like if it's like 90%, which it won't be, then I think it'd be bad. But like 50% is fine.
Yeah, which I think is high.
It'll be higher than that for sure.
Yeah. And you're talking about the $5 will be closer to 50.
I could see it getting to 40, probably like pretty easy. I could see it being 40%. Just because projections are going to be pushing him. Like he's an elite per minute producer, and he's going to be projecting for around 30 minutes around the industry. So that's really tough to get away from. And I don't think that you should get away from it personally.
As you said last night, 60% too low owned.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the secondary guy, or I guess they're not secondary guys, but like the Levine, Monk, and DeRozan grouping, I think is all very good tonight. I think DeRozan is probably the guy that I have the most interest in. I do think that him and Sabonis don't really mesh too well in the same unit together, just because Sabonis is such like a dribble handoff guy and DeMar is ISO mid-range post-up guy. So it's kind of tough to play them together, but the numbers kind of back it up. He does see the biggest increase in usage at plus 6.3%, with Levine behind him at 5.5%, with Sabonis off the court this season. And from a per minute standpoint, Levine is the better option, but he's $400 more expensive. But he's at 1.34 fantasy points per minute, and DeRozan 1.29. So both really solid. We do have the largest sample of Malik Monk playing without Sabonis, and he's been pretty modest, 1.03 points per minute. He does have the best matchup, Malik Monk does, because I think they'll put Kyrie on him to start. But there's also a little bit of downside risk to Malik Monk's minutes in particular because Kyrie is in the game, and they kind of go to Keon Ellis a little bit more in these types of matchups. So I could see the minutes being a little bit held in check for Malik Monk in favor of Keon tonight. So that's why I have a lot more interest in Levine and DeRozan because I think they're pretty safe from a minute standpoint. So, I'm going to get to one of those guys in a lot of my lineups, but I think I'll have a good amount of DeRozan and Levine and then a little bit less Malik Monk. But I'll definitely want to get over the field on all of those guys. No interest in Keegan Murray. I think Keon Ellis, like you can play at 4.3K just because he has shown upside. He's playing a ton of minutes right now. So he's okay. And then the Dallas side, yeah, I don't know. 9.5K for Kyrie is expensive. He's probably going to play 40 minutes tonight. I don't know. I usually don't really pay 9.5K for Kyrie. I'd be okay with it tonight if I'm like game stacking this game. If I have two of the Levine, Monk, DeRozan guys, and then Jovel in there, I'd be okay getting to Kyrie. But I don't know. There's a lot of opportunity risk paying 9.5K for Kyrie when you're going to need probably 60 plus from your point guard position when you're spending up tonight. I think that Klay Thompson is kind of a sharp pivot off of Najee Marshall tonight. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but he's been shooting really well. Made three or more threes in 7 straight games. Kings are a huge 3-point funnel this season, and he's shown a little bit of upside too. I mean, Najee hasn't really shown there's no reason that he should be getting this much ownership, in my opinion. Just because even when he's playing a ton of minutes, like he's not really doing much, and Klay can get hot, been shooting the ball really well. So I kind of like Klay over Najee tonight. If I'm left with 5.5K with a forward spot, I would go Klay over Najee there. I don't think this is a Max Christie spot. Yeah, so it's probably just Kyrie, Klay, and Najee are the guys that I'm considering on Dallas. But the King side looks pretty good.
Oh gosh. No, no, we're not playing Keon Ellis ever. No, don't play Keon Ellis unless Rio says to, but no, definitely not playing Keon Ellis. Rio, you playing some Keon tonight?
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. I'm not against it.
Oh man, he's so bad at basketball. Rio, I'm disappointed in you, man. You didn't say the best play of the night.
Was it Dwight Powell?
No, if he starts, I'm going to guarantee 30-plus points from Spencer Dinwiddie should he start. Spencer Dinwiddie, how do you not love Spencer Dinwiddie tonight? 4,100 for that guy?
I don't think that he's starting.
Well, I don't know. We have him starting. I mean, who's going to start over him? Dante Exum or Powell maybe?
They're gonna be starting a center. Like there's no.
Yeah, they got to start a big guy.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the starting lineup. Like it's more likely that Kessler Edwards starts over Dinwiddie, but I think the most likely thing is Dwight Powell.
If Dinwiddie starts, he's scoring 30, and I don't think it's a concern. Beantown. I don't think they have much of a choice but to play small all night. You know, they have Dwight Powell, some guy named Kessler Edwards, who's not any good. So I think, they'll be playing a lot of small ball. If they want to win, Spencer Dinwiddie's going to need 30-plus real-life minutes. That's my take.
We'll see, though, because they have a little – like adding Kai Jones, like he should be able to play tonight. I do see him – Basketball Monster has Kai Jones projected to start. I don't think they're going to go that route. I think it's going to be Dwight Powell, but I would imagine if he's active tonight, he's probably playing. I just don't think that they can or should go small in this matchup. There's just a lot of like Malik Monk, Levine, DeRozan, Jovel, all guys that are going to be scoring a lot around the basket. So I think that they're going to want to get some like real centers out there, especially with how bad their rim defense has been over the last month or so.
Michael, I didn't realize that Kessler Edwards was a former King, but now I know, so it's good to know. Edwards revenge game called by Michael Peterson. One game left on the slate, and it's Rio's Utah Jazz taking on Hoops Detroit Pistons. Tobias Harris is going to miss this game. Jaden Ivey is still on the shelf. I hope he gets back soon before the playoffs. I think Beef Stew was a midday downgrade I saw come across the wire. The Utah Jazz not playing anybody anymore. I feel like Jordan Clarkson is out. John Collins is doubtful. Larry Markkinen I saw is out. Micah Potter is out. Colin Sexton questionable. And my boy, the former Kentucky Wildcat, was out there balling last night. Former Pacer great Oscar Sweet. I can't even pronounce his last name. Oscar Sweetboy. Is he playing? I don't see him on the stone, but I know he was balling last night. Is he back in the G League?
It says questionable G League, so I don't know if they sent down Potter, they're probably sending him down as well. I would think. Yeah, that would probably. So Walker Kessler is off. Yeah, so he's probably not playing tonight.
You're saying is Kessler back tonight?
Yeah, Kessler's back tonight.
Yes, sir. I think Kessler's a great play. But talk to me a little bit about this game. Jalen Duren's been balling. Cade Cunningham. You've talked about it all year long. This Utah Jazz team is horrendous against guarding the three. Of course, I took Trey Murphy over 3.5 threes last night. He shot 15, I believe, and hit right at 3. So down in flames that one went. But talk to me about this game. The red-hot Pistons taking on the depleted Jazz team.
I'll give you a bet right off the bat. I mean, take whatever Malik Beasley's three-point line is and ladder it up to like 8 tonight.
Nice. We're going to do it live on the show. We're going to do some giveaways too. You're back with me on Friday too. Let's see if this baby can hit. And then we're going to do some giveaways on Friday once he gets like 8 in the first half. Let's go Dame time. Let's go Damian Lillard time, Rio, where we get that by halftime.
Yeah, I love it. We actually, so we'll have a couple giveaways this week then if that hits because our guy Wiggy, I got to get the set up for Wednesday, but he had another really good night on Friday, I believe. Got where was he, like top 10 in the lotto? Had a really good lineup he had a lineup that looked like it could have won. I think at the most points or player minutes remaining going into the last game, and then the Suns just kind of ran away with it. But he said he wanted to do another giveaway. He gave away 4 tickets last week to the $18. So we'll get another one set up there. So shout out to Wiggy. And then if you win, we'll do another one on Friday when we're on the show together. But yeah, I mean, this is just a really good spot to fire up some Detroit pieces, and we'll get a little bit of value on the Detroit side with no Tobias Harris. It's kind of sneaky big because he is a guy that's playing a ton of minutes, so that should open up a starting spot for, I think it'll be Malik Beasley, but don't be surprised if it's Ron Holland or if it's Simone Fontecchio. There's a couple ways that they can go. Got a couple revenge games as well. Malik Beasley played in Utah, and he actually wanted to stay. I talk about it with my dad all the time. I mean, he was beloved in Utah. I think he's just great. I really like Malik Beasley because anywhere he goes, He gives 100% effort. He loves Detroit, says he wants to build a winning culture there. So maybe he's a little salty about the Jazz not re-signing him after he said he wanted to stay there. And then, I don't think that Simone Fontecchio holds any grudges, but he did play for Utah. And then Paul Reed, he didn't play for Utah, but we actually signed him 2 years ago. And then the Sixers kind of shut that down because they matched the offer and then just let him go the next year. So it's kind of stupid, but yeah, there's a ton to like here on the Detroit side. Utah giving up the most threes per game, most catch and shoot threes per game, most transition points. They're basically bottom 5 in every DVP category, but against point guards, they're bottom 2, allowing the 3rd most points per game, 2nd most assists, 2nd most steals per game. And Cade sees a 2% usage rate increase with Harris off the court. Yeah, Cade is going to be he's already in my core. I saw somebody mention in chat that I already have it up because I feel pretty locked in early today. I think Cade is going to have a huge game here after a couple down games. So I like Cade, Tempo 1K, fire him up with a lot of confidence. Duran, his matchup gets a little bit tougher with Walker Kessler back because the Jazz rim defense actually been pretty solid. But they still allow a ton of fantasy points to opposing big men, bottom 5 in DVP, and then that's in large part to them allowing a ton of steals and blocks per game. They allow a total of 4.2 steals plus blocks per game. And Duran's been playing really well. And then I think if Beef Stew were to miss, that does help him from a minutes perspective. So I think Duran is pretty solid here at 6.9K. He definitely has a ton of upside. We've seen it from him before. And then Asar and Malik Beasley. I love these guys tonight for different reasons. Asar, really good scoring in transition with no Tobias Harris. That should give him a slight increase in minutes. They've been pretty cautious with his minutes in general this season, but this could be a spot where we see him gets like 29 or 30. And with Harris off the court, he's a 0.97 fantasy point per minute producer. Yeah, the Jazz allow the most turnovers. They're dead last in turnover percentage this season, dead last in transition. 2 areas that we could see Asar really, really perform well there. So I like Asar a ton here. And then Beasley, if he's starting, even if he's not starting, I actually kind of would prefer him to not start because I think he's going to play a lot regardless, but maybe ownership comes down a little bit. Actually, I doubt that because this is the last game on the slate, so there's not a ton of pivots. So it doesn't really matter. Malik Beasley, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, making over 4 per game, third in threes made per game, 42%. Really good numbers there. He's first in catch and shoot points per game this season. He's been very good as a starter, 32.7 points per game as a starter this season. We've seen him capable of playing 36 plus minutes. So I think Beasley, very, very strong option tonight. And then Schroeder, he's okay. 4.2K is a good price tag for him. Point guard, shooting guard. No thank you on Tim Hardaway Jr. And then you could play the backup center game with Paul Reed if Isaiah Stewart were to miss because he's 3K. Always been a guy that we look to play a lot of whenever he's given the minutes. And if you're playing the blowout angle, which you definitely could because Detroit is favored by 11 tonight, then Reed, they would probably have him out there in blowout, and he could put up like 20 plus fantasy points in a single quarter if he's out there for the last like 8 to 10 minutes of the game.
Oh, timeout.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let's say that Beef Stew is out. I mean, don't you think that Reed's going to get 15 minutes at a minimum anyway? Or do you think they would bump Duran up to like 36?
No, it's probably Duran to like 32 to 34, I would say. And then, I would say Reed is probably at like 30, probably at like 16.
16, okay.
If that No. Yeah, so if it's like 32, then it'd be like 16. Yeah. But yeah, you could play the blowout angle because obviously we know the Jazz aren't great, but they have been playing decently. They've been capable to hang around, which is kind of why I like the guys that would play in a close game a lot more, like the Cade, Asar, Malik Beasley types. But yeah, shifting over to Utah, I don't think that the guys that got ruled out really open up too much value. We kind of wanted like Kessler and Sexton to miss. You could probably still make a case for Keontae just because he's been playing really well coming off the bench, and I think Clarkson being out would help him the most. But yeah, I mean, it's starting to get a little pricey with Sexton back if he does play. If Sexton misses, then I have a lot of interest in Keontae George. I also have a little bit of an issue with DraftKings. Like, they've been pricing the Jazz up all season long and kind of for no reason. Like, none of these guys have been crushing in such a big way where, like, Keontae should be priced at 7K. But also, they're overlapping Keontae and Collier so much. Like, one of these guys should have shooting guard eligibility. I just don't get that. But yeah, if Sexton were to miss, then Keontae is totally fine to go to. That's probably it though. Like Walker Kessler is not injured. It's just they're resting guys for tanking purposes. Detroit has been one of the best rim protecting teams in the league, so not really a ton to love there. But I mean, he's kind of matchup proof in some sense. Like he's probably going to get you a double, and then you have a little bit more added benefit if he adds in some steals and blocks. So I'm okay with Walker and Keontae, but I think the Detroit side is definitely the side you want to get to.
Yeah, I'm just looking. I mean, this Jazz team, man, they're just bad. But you said it. We did it. We did it live on the show. Hey, doing a giveaway on Malik Beasley. We're going to do a $100 single entry if he gets to 8 threes, Rio.
Love it.
We're going to do a $555 if he gets to 10 threes. $555 giveaway. Malik Beasley hits 10 threes tonight, and we'll do the $100 single entry on Friday's show. Make sure you tune in Friday to that. We'll have to figure something out for that. That'll do it. All 7 games. Hey, let's root on Malik Beasley tonight. Get 10 threes. That would be super nice for me. That would be super nice for the chat as well. We saw it in the chat. I'm going to put it up here. Where'd it go? Hey, we got the winners. We just gave away the winners right here. You can do our Sar, Beasley, George, Cade.
Yeah.
Then you put 4 Hawks and Grizzlies in there. Then you're printing. You're sitting at the top of the leaderboard tonight. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. All right, Rio. You said you came prepared. I got to get prepared now. And you can't give away Cade Cunningham. You can't give away Dyson Daniels. You can give someone in your core. We won't say if it's in your core or not. You got to head on over to ShipItNation.com to get all those goods. But give me your play of the day. Let's go sub, I'm going to say 6K. I'm going to make it harder on you. Maybe you didn't come prepared for that. But sub 6K, 6X play of the day is?
All right, you got to give me 2 seconds now because I had somebody in like the 8K range.
You want me to go first? Give you some time.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna give you 2 6K below 6K 6X plays of the day. Number 1 is going to be a guy that I cannot stand watch to play the game of basketball. Goes by the name of Draymond Green, 5,900. I think he dominates inside. I think he gets assists and rebounds. Really like Draymond tonight. My second one, Hebrewcheetah is not going to like this one, but I think we're going prime LeBron tonight. We're going Q Money, Quentin Grimes, 5,800. Hope PG8 sits tonight. Not PG13, PG8. Hope he sits. My guy Quentin Grimes going back to back. He's going to do it like Drake and go 40. No, he's not going to hit 44 again tonight. But I do like Quentin Grimes to pay off his tag at 5,800. Should PG8 sit tonight?
That's gross right there, but I respect it.
Nico Harrison and Shamble.
This is tough because I like all the guys in the 5K range that I really like tonight are getting a ton of ownership, so I don't want to be like giving.
All right, let's give away your 8K. All right, we can change. Okay. We can bend the rules, but your 8K guys got to hit 6X.
Okay. Let me do a little math here.
Drake will get 17. Is that years? I don't know what that means, Wardo.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go DeMar. I like DeMar or Levine. I like either one of those 2 guys.
Come on, you can't be. You got to pick one. You can't be on the fence. You got to pick one. No, I gave you 2. You saying they're both gonna get 6X?
No. I think it's just one of those guys. But I think it's DeMar. I like the matchup a lot. I like what I'm seeing from the points per minute stuff, the role increase, the usage, assist numbers actually look pretty good with Sabonis off the court too. So yeah, a lot to like about DeMar's matchup tonight. So he's gonna be my guy.
Yeah, I like DeMar as well. 7,400. He does more in terms of rebounds and assists than Levine. I'm with you on that. That'll do it for this show. As a reminder, Malik Beasley hits 10 threes. We're giving away a $555 on Friday. 8 threes. We'll give away a $100 single entry. We'll have to think of a cool way to give that out to somebody in the chat on Friday. So make sure you're tuning into that game. That'll do it for us. I'm headed to a middle school softball game. Should be fun in the cold tonight. Nothing better than a little middle school softball action. I'll be watching those NBA games, but that'll do it for us. For my man,
play some side bets in the softball game.
I'll play some side bets. Yeah, I'll have to find some other degenerate fathers with me. But for my man, Hebrewcheetah, fresh off his live final seat, I'm your boy Ham. He'll be here tomorrow. I'll be back. Thursday, filling in for Hebrewcheetah. But we'll see you then. head on over to ShipItNation.com and let's ship it.